Welcome this evening to those in person, to my colleagues on the diocese, and to those attending online. I call this December 14th, 2023 hybrid meeting of the ABCGC plus APS to order. Counselor Benton is excused. Commissioner Quesada, Counselors Grout and Pena, Chief of Staff Katrina Sandoval, attending as the mayor's designee, are appearing via Zoom. I will start with a silent invocation. So please join me in silent invocation, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, led by myself. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Moving on to item number 3, approval of minutes. I move to approve the August 24th ABCGC plus APS meeting minutes. Can I please have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Councilor Feeblecorn. Madam Clerk, please call the roll, or wonderful staff.
Okay, I'll start. Chair Barboa,
Yes.
Vice Chair Feeblecorn,
Yes.
Counselor Grout,
Yes.
Counselor Pena,
Yes.
Commissioner Quesada,
Aye.
so called.
Thank you. Okay, we're going on to public comment. Julie, do we have folks signed up for public comment? And Julie?
Yes, we have one person signed up for public comment.
Okay, let me just give the quick little, for folks submitting public comment, you will have 2 minutes to share your comments. You'll then be notified when your time is up. And should any of the commissioners have follow-up questions to your comments, you will have the opportunity to answer. Please call the first and only name.
Okay. Carlos Benavides.
Good evening.
Good evening.
What I wanted to talk about was the Fourth Amendment and the right to be secure in your persons, papers, and effects against any unreasonable searches and seizures, right? So how is it when you come to a government facility and they want to know your name and want to know what you're doing, right? When there's a quote from Benjamin Franklin that says, when you give up your rights for security, you deserve neither. And so when you're giving up your right, your Fourth Amendment right to be secure in your person's papers and effects when you come into the building, for instance, the Albuquerque Public School, the main building by the mall, by Coronado Mall, to enter and look at the facility and take a tour, I have to give up my name, give up my ID to roam around the building. You know, I have a vested interest. I'm a taxpayer in it. And I should be able to go in there without having to give up my name, my ID, you know, and there's a reason for that. Because you don't want your government to be retaliating against you for any scrutiny or any scrutiny that you're going to give to them. You should be able to have a little privacy so that you're not going to face any retaliation from them. So you shouldn't have to give your ID and let them know who you are, where you live. For instance, another is having to sign up to make a public comment. I have to give you my name, my first, my last name, my address to make this comment. And if you guys don't like it, then, you know, I'm in fear of retaliation because you don't like what I say. And then now you guys have me on record. You guys have my address. You guys know my last name. You guys can retaliate against me with your guys' influence. And that's what's important about the Fourth Amendment. To be secure in your persons, your papers and effects, your name, your privacy for the people. Think about changing that policy over there that they have. I have a YouTube channel for the record.
Thank you, sir.
For the record, 11777.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
And that concludes public comment.
Thank you, Angela. We will move on to new business, evaluations, ecosystems, public health and safety. So if you all remember when I decided to take on being chair of, for this year, I sort of sent out a hopeful agenda for the time. I did want to give some updates, just quick and simple updates about what, our behavior from the Bernalillo County's perspective, and if there's any discussion about what other systems are doing around the behavioral health or just general updates. I don't think we're at the place where we're at a solid ecosystem that's working together, but I think that's the hope, right? So let's keep putting it on paper and saying it out loud. So hopefully we'll move towards that type of ecosystem. But I have felt even with just in this year, the few updates I have, the Bernalillo County Cares Campus has now, and I was happy to attend last night. They had a community input meeting in which providers attended, but also they gave us a tour of the place, which has changed significantly. There's new color in the space, which, you know, before there wasn't a lot of color. One of the biggest things they've done this year that I think has really made big impacts has been that they've opened an observation and assessment room. So before, well, they were, a lot of our projects are turning folks away, but the observation assessment now allows them to not turn away some of those people that weren't committed to a 10-day program or or even a 24-hour hold, and they can come in, sort of be observed and assessed for any further treatments, which a lot of those are the folks that were often getting turned away because they either were too inebriated or not inebriated enough, or maybe had a mental health that was being with substance use addiction. So now they're really clear that even with co-occurring disorders, they're not turning folks away. And that observation unit has meant that we're not turning many of those folks that we were turning away before. So I feel very encouraged by that. The Resource Reentry Center, I'll just go over some of maybe what we've heard throughout the year. The Resource Reentry Center, which is where every single person that comes out of MDC goes through while they're exiting, right? And during COVID, they had shut down completely, and then even when they reopened, it was for limited hours. Now, the Resource Reentry Center is 24/7, including weekends, which, you know, sort of is a big deal, right? Before we were only open Monday through Friday. We know so much of the entering and exiting of MDC happens over the weekend, and so it's great to have that staffed up. And then last, I'd say we've been working really clearly with, I also serve on the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. And there at the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council, we've been able to, there's been some really great subcommittees that have made advancements in getting what they call the addiction treatment program. It also had been understaffed. The county was running it, but of course, you know, there's a staffing problem everywhere. But now they are working with the courts to increase the capacity of that addiction treatment program in the jail. And then, of course, you all were a part of the work that we've been able to hear and see with the opioid settlement. There has not been more movement on creating that, whatever that's going to look like to get us. So I'm hoping I have confirmation from the county manager that early in the new year we'll be building what that looks like to get our collaborative. Thank you, Councilor Feeblecorn, for collaborating with the county to get that done. And I'm really excited about what that might mean for prevention, intervention, and I know I was just talking to you before, how we make sure we're including APS. I know there's always a lot of requests. We, city, county, community always have a lot of requests from APS. We have to figure out how we're resourcing that. So hopeful for that. So those are sort of the basic updates. I don't have a big overview of evaluation or updates or a brand new ecosystem. But I can say I think we're working towards it. Oh, I guess also it would be the behavioral health work group and the plan that came out of that. I was late. I was out of town for several days, but I'm hoping that in the new year we can have Bryce Pittenger and who is her name?
The consultants are Bryce Pittenger and Kate Gibbons.
Thank you. Sorry, I forgot Kate Gibbons' name. They are developing a plan that I do believe works towards this ecosystem, including a way to vet the money that goes out from the behavioral health funding, but also making sure that we have a way that all our, whether you call it ecosystem or continuum of care, but that those things are handed off between each other. I know I've reached a few of the local providers have also reached out. Really thankful that UNM is now at MDC, and UNM is really willing to partner with the local community orgs, but that also means that those community orgs may not have, they need to also be resourced to carry a new and increased load, which is what we want, right? We want people to be handed off directly to the community, but we also have to resource those organizations so that they can pick up that capacity. So any other updates from all our partners or things that we want to mention or keep aware of for the new year? Not sure who's on.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Quesada.
Yeah, since we're talking about, public health and safety, I just wanted to give everybody an update that we are hopefully on schedule with the mobile school-based health centers units that we will be implementing to APS. And the good news, and I think maybe everybody heard the good news, that Congresswoman Stansberry funded another one. So we will have a third one, hopefully coming in right behind that. A lot of people are asking me where that is, and it was a supply and chain issue on building the units because, we are providing medical services within this mobile unit. So a lot of these things that we needed and medical machines and scanners and all the things that happen inside of there. We're a little bit behind, but we're looking at hopefully by the middle of next year where those two will be implemented, and hopefully right behind it will be the third one. So that, because we get a lot of emails and a lot of asks from schools about that, and I just wanted to be able to say that publicly that they're coming. And I know, thank you for your patience. I've been very frustrated as well. I've started this 7 years ago, and I'm still waiting, but I see light at the end of the tunnel. So I just wanted to give that update. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner. I am very excited. I can't wait. I think those will save lives for sure. So thank you. Any other updates?
I'll just provide that. Oh, let me get I don't know how you do this. It's on, okay. Just an update on some further updates on school health, because I think that's important. There was an important press conference that was held. There is some issues around the funding stream for school-based health centers statewide. So DOH has had an administrative hiccup, and so funding coming out to the existing programs has not been paid, so they have not received their funds since July 1, so for this particular administrative year. And that's a problem, so we've got some existing programs where right now through the first of the year, we're hoping that they will continue, but it has become pretty dire in terms of them really needing to get their money out the door. The other sadness in that I found, it's just really sad because the legislature had actually allocated funds for the expansion of services, on-site services. And so West Mesa was slated as a site that was scheduled to have a center that would be on-site. And commissioners talking about the mobile versus on-site, I think they're both critical. Mm-hmm. And so the on-site services at West Mesa have been held up. And what I understand is that we're hoping that they will indeed get those funds underway so that, and UNM medical group is the one that has actually put the pitch in to run that particular center. And so they're on the path to get their staff hired. And I also had just talked yesterday with our internal department over at APS, and the facility is on its way in terms of getting it fixed up and getting it done. So, so some good news on the front, but sad news at the same time. And then I also do want to say that finally, too, Highland High School is going to get a refurbished school-based health center, which is really awesome. Because they've have operated in what has been a shoebox, is what I would call it, since I was, part of DOH many years ago. But there was funds that were found to actually renovate that space. And Highland High School's school-based health center, surprisingly enough, is one of the most utilized centers, and it would be right in that international district. So we're really excited about them finally getting a space that's going to look really top-notch and really be able to support our kids that live in that international district. Children and families, I should say.
Yes, that's what I love about the school-based health centers the most, is that the family. I remember when my son was going to middle school and his school, and Wilson had a school-based health center, I would take my daughter there. It's a lot faster than the urgent care, even though she was in elementary school, but we could all go to that same place. So you said a hiccup, which is a nice way of saying an administrative hiccup, but do you feel assured that that's going to get clear, like they're going to get
The
their
one
money?
from DOH?
Yeah, the DOH.
I think we're going to need to do some advocacy for sure. I know that Albuquerque Interfaith is definitely doing the advocacy piece on this. They've already met with DOH secretary and the staff from the Office of School and Adolescent Health. There was a letter that went out to the school-based health centers and said that they would have their funds within 45 days. But I'm just hoping it really needs to come through in the new year, because if not, I think we're going to start to see some of, and it's not just Albuquerque, it's going to be statewide, but we're going to start to see closure, because it's hard to pay these providers and to keep the programs going. So let's keep our fingers crossed, and I think if there's any city councilors or commissioners that could also assist around some of the advocacy on this. I will say the delegation from here, from Albuquerque, with our senators and representatives have been really helpful on this. Senator Padilla, Jerry Ortiz-Pino, and Linda Lopez have definitely been very helpful so far on this. So we're hoping that we can get that cleared up and get it going.
Huge. And it's huge for Albuquerque, but it's even harder for rural communities
Yes.
who don't have the kind of
Absolutely.
backup. Thank you so much for that update. Any others? Anyone else? Thank you, everyone, for participating. Clarissa Pena, Councilor Pena, Councilor Grau. Any additions? Awesome. Well, we will move to item 5B. APS board members Gonzalez and Cordova Montoya to present on the APS superintendent search. Thank you so much.
They're working great, thank you. Danielle Gonzalez with the APS Board of Education. And we asked to be on the agenda tonight to share a little bit more about the APS superintendent search, which is another really exciting opportunity and critical moment for our city, our county, and our community as we work to get the right leader in this position. So we on the board have been working diligently over the last couple of months to do a lot of community engagement and outreach. We had a survey, we've hosted several events, and we're able to reach nearly 8,000 people who provided feedback around the competencies, characteristics, attributes, and type of experiences that they would like to see in the next superintendent. And so we're here also to sort of open up that conversation with all of you to see if there's anything in particular that you think is important, or if there's anything that you've heard from any of your constituents or folks in your communities around what they're hoping to see in the superintendent. I wanted to just briefly walk through the timeline because it is moving along quite quickly. We're excited about that. So as I mentioned, we've done outreach over the last about month and a half, and on December 12th was actually the day that the position closed. So the job had been posted for that whole time, just closed on December 12th. And so we now have a slate of candidates that is currently being evaluated. And that's going to happen over the course of December. And we will cull that list a little bit down as we go to get to lists of semifinalists and finalists. The final goal is to have the Board of Education meet to do interviews to make a final decision January 31st. So hopefully our community knows shortly thereafter who the next APS superintendent is. The other thing I wanted to share as a critical moment is on January 30th, APS will host a public town hall. So we will bring the finalists for that position into the Bernalillo Professional Development Center and provide an opportunity for the public to come. So we're looking to host a couple of different sessions and formats. So a session for students, a session for community partners, session for staff, APS staff, which would be in the evening, and then another session for the public as well. So an opportunity to ask questions of the superintendent candidates, to meet them, and then also just to weigh in, because this is our community's superintendent. We want to make sure that we're making that decision well. So I just wanted to share that and see if my colleague, Board President Montoya Cordova, has anything to add.
You know, I think the only thing that I will add is that there's been a lot of intentionality on that community engagement, and we're going to continue that even after this selection. But this new framework that the board has adopted is really getting out there, and it's a testament to how it's working. Because I will say, in my term on the board, but we've had surveys out before, and maybe we've drawn maybe 2,500 or maybe 2,000 responses. But on this particular survey for the superintendent, we were actually able to draw about 7,000 responses. So it really is a testament to this need for all of us to be engaged with the community and this conversation being important. And I just want to thank the commission and this group for giving us an opportunity to be here tonight to just broadly talk about that, because I think this is a superintendent that belongs to all of us, and the school district is about all of us. And I really appreciate the intentionality of this group to include APS, right? So we know that there's ways to broaden our partnership and the importance on that. So thank you so much for just giving us that opportunity. And if, as my colleague said here, if you've got any input, even any insight you want to share with us tonight, we'll be sure to take that. We're going to be reviewing those characteristics at our board meeting next Wednesday. So there'll be an open discussion about all of the information that we've heard from all of the community. It's distilled down, and we'll be sharing what were the top characteristics and what did the community tell us was really important. And so, but we can also take back what we hear from tonight if you all have some other things you want to make sure that we carry forward.
Madam Chair? Madam Chair.
Yes, Commissioner Quesada. Oh, yes, Commissioner Quesada.
I'm sorry, I have a barking dog at this point. But I think, as most people know, I've been through that process a couple of times when I sat on the Albuquerque Board of Education. And so one of the things that I had advocated for, and it always ended up being, I think, the right decision. We went through a national search. We brought somebody in. It lasted 30 days, and it was very unfortunate that it lasted 30 days, and then we had to do another search. But as I was a part of that search, I was constantly advocating to hire within, to hire somebody from Albuquerque, from Albuquerque Public School Board, from Albuquerque Public Schools. I felt that that was going to be a more sustainable, someone who has vested interest in the community, and somebody who has been a part of this and it's a huge organization throughout their career. And as you know, I advocated for Raquel Reedy, and she had a very successful tenure as superintendent. And I thought that Scott Elder did a really good job. I think the only problem that we had is that they were at the end of their career. And so I would really like to put my 2 cents in as Again, I would really advocate for us to hire within the organization as it exists now, because it was all developed within this organization as they went into different kind of zones now, and how they run APS is different now. And I think that came from the leadership that's happening at APS. I think it's important that that kind of work moves forward. And I truly believe that it's going to be more successful if that is the direction the school board goes. That's just my 2 cents. I know you probably have a lot of great candidates. We did too. We had them from all over the country. But it just seems like, for me, the most successful superintendents has always been local, educated people from APS, or at least from New Mexico, who kind of get who we are, where we come from, and the challenges of each zone, because there's distinct differences between the South Valley and the Northeast Heights and the West Mesa and the North Valley, and all of those things that we have to consider of who's going to be the leader of our huge educational system here in Albuquerque. So I appreciate you giving me a couple of minutes to express my thoughts and my concerns. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Quesada. Any response?
Now, I just want to let Commissioner Quesada know, this is Yolanda Montoya-Corda. I took down your notes, so I'm writing that down, and we'll make sure to carry that forward with us. But thank you for sharing your thoughts on that.
And for me, I'm sure you're hearing all the things, and we'll hear even more. I think what I get worried about, I guess is the best way to explain it, because I don't have any real suggestions. But what I get worried about is I think there's been a lot of great efforts over the years, probably thanks to you all, to include programming, sort of social safety net programming, as we continue to say, like, we want teachers to be able to focus on educating. We have our community schools program, or I know Crossroads offers behavioral health. We know that post-COVID, mental and behavioral health, like, thankfully, even young people are being able to express now more, probably not as much as we need them to, but more that they may need help. And so I think somebody who's open to making sure that not only we continue the social safety net program we have, but even, increasing it. And again, like I said in the last time, I know we're already at, like, I know the city's asking for the violence intervention program, and we're, all of us sort of want to get to the youth somehow. And I know that's a difficult balance for you all and this person who's going to take that on to ensure that that's a balance between what's needed and the education and access. But I guess that's, for me, always in this lens, what I would hope for the best is somebody that not only is, but that's excited and almost visionary around how those programs can work together in the education system.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, hopes for APS? Well wishes? Let's all say, all of us light our candles tonight.
I'm lighting a candle right now, Madam Chair. I'm lighting a candle right now.
Send all our good wishes. Do the things. Yes, we need someone great, and thank you so much for your work to get that done.
Thank you.
All right, great. I believe you're next, Commissioner Quesada, adult literacy presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this presentation by Ethos Literary. Recently they came into my office and we had a really great conversation about the organization. It's dedicated to enhancing literacy skills among our community members. They provide us with valuable insights into their programs, shared uplifting stories of students' achievements, and they sought out our support, and we want to link them in with the various local resources. As you stated earlier, it takes a village, and so all the other organizations, nonprofits that support APS and behavioral health, really helps us kind of fill in the holes where we're not funded, through the state. It's very hard for an organization as large as our educational institutions are, and a lot of them just don't have the access to that. So I don't want to really give away their presentation because I wished I could because it was such an awesome presentation. But I would like to turn it over to them right now. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Yisodi Geiger, and I'm the Executive Director for Ethos Literacy. Joining me this evening is our Program Director, Cindy Ketchum. I'm going to just do a quick share screen, if I may, and just go right through my presentation. According to the PIAAC, which is the Program for the International Assessment of Adult Competencies, 55% of adults, 16 to 74, who reside in Bernalillo County read at or below the 6th grade level. 60% of those adults who enroll in our program read between 0 and 3rd grade. 35% of our students have a high school diploma. The average age of our students is 43 years old. Ethos is a community-based adult education nonprofit. We use unpaid volunteers to provide free literacy instruction to our students. Many of these volunteers do not have teaching experience. With the recent push for workplace and career readiness, adult education programs received $9 million from the legislature last year. Adult literacy programs like ours only received $750,000. The work we do is critical but often neglected. Teaching people to read and write doesn't necessitate large sums of money, but it is the most essential component to getting and retaining a job. Please look at the first document titled My Dog. This student has a high school diploma, but reads at a 4th grade level. She was referred to us by CNM when she couldn't enroll because her reading scores were so low. Right now, she is on our wait list. This second story was written by a gentleman who left the school in 9th grade, but reads at a 5th grade level. He was referred to us by CNM because he couldn't enroll in their adult education program with his low reading scores. After 10 months working in our program with a one-on-one tutor, he was able to enroll in their adult education program. However, he still uses a tutor to help from our program to help with his work. The third sample is from a gentleman who has no high school diploma and tested at a 0 reading level. He came to the program so he could get a better job. Over the last 8 months, he has increased his reading level by 1 grade, read 13 high-low biographies, and has begun writing his own thoughts and can read street and traffic signs. He drives a truck for a living. The next sample is from a gentleman who left school in the 10th grade and reads at a 1st grade level. He said he needs help sounding out words and wants to get his CDL. He too is currently on our wait list. This next sample was written by a high school graduate who reads at a 4th grade level. He came to get help with his reading because of his dyslexia. Since working with his tutor, he's read The Old Man and the Sea and is finally able to read bedtime stories to his toddlers. He is a maintenance worker who wants to author children's books. The next sample is from another gentleman who left school in the 11th grade and reads at an 8th grade level. He wants a GED so he can go to college and stop doing physical labor. He's been matched with a reading and writing instructor and is taking a math class currently. This last sample was written by a 31-year-old gentleman who is employed as a janitor. He has a high school diploma, but when we tested him, he looked at the word he and said, I know that's an H and that's an E, but I don't know the word. After a few years in the program, he was able to write these sentences. Unfortunately, he decided to leave the program because it became too hard and he wasn't really sure why he needed the help. Our program needs more money like everyone else. We need more staff and we need more space to operate. What we do provides the foundation for workplace and career readiness, but we're lacking the tools we need in order to have a greater impact. I would humbly ask and implore you all to help us find some funding so we can continue building a more literate workforce. Thank you very much. Thank you, Commissioner Quesada, for sponsoring us this evening.
Thank
Question?
you. So, Madam Chair, I think what was important to me when I got this presentation is, it's really hard to lead by example for your children if you don't have the skills. And so when I was on the school board, I met with, with schools and parents who were struggling, that your kids will follow your example way before they'll follow your advice. And I believe this is a good way for parents who have struggled through the educational system as I did, and would have the ability to learn to be able to be an example and not just give advice to their children. And I think that really will bring the level of education to us here in New Mexico, Bernalillo County. And so that's why I thought it was important that we saw this presentation and that somehow we figure out a way to support this organization in order to further the abilities that parents have to assist their children, because I think it's important, so important. And so thank you so much for coming and doing this presentation. I think we got the point, and now what we got to do is figure out how do we come together as a city, the county, and APS, and look at the advantages of helping to support you. The funding that you just talked about is very inadequate. And I think it ties into so many different things, also behavioral health and all these other aspects. It ties into that. And so I think it's something that I think we should look at. And I know APS does support that, and they do have Parent University. But like I said, the more organizations that we can tie into, especially when we're looking at community schools, I think this is important. So thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all the board members for allowing me to bring this forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Quesada, and thank you for the presentation. I have a couple of questions, actually.
Yes.
Thank you for the presentation and showing the example. It's I think many of us were sighing and feeling and tearing up over here from the examples. And thank you for the real impact that you all are doing. I wonder if, I guess a few things I wonder, is there, because I think there's limited adult learning programs they're a small amount, or how many would you say are available even in just the Bernalillo County area?
According to the Higher Education Department, there are 18 adult literacy programs throughout the state of New Mexico. There are 26 adult education programs throughout the state. In Bernalillo County, I believe there are, there's our adult literacy organization, which once again, our main focus is just teaching the fundamentals of reading, phonemic awareness, decoding, fluency, just the very basics. There are at least 2 programs in Albuquerque. What we've been asked and encouraged to do is if we get certain students that are wanting to get their GED, that we work with them, but really push them into these adult education organizations. But as I said, when you're looking at some of these examples and you're seeing, if you can't read and write, there's no way that you will be able to have any kind of success in an adult education program. So really it starts with funding these adult literacy organizations to build that foundation and then level them up to the next place.
Great. And thank you for that. I didn't really catch on, but now I understand that. This is even before adult GED. Yeah. Thank you. And I don't think I've heard of other programs such as yourselves. When you talked about space, I know obviously money and to build a higher staff and have robust programming, but when you talked about space, I just thought of my daughter-in-law was wanting to get her GED after, and she couldn't, she found one place that was closed. She had her own problems with it, which I think is an issue, which she couldn't get consistent communication with the program she was trying to work for. But has as far as space goes, that there might be a partnership there that like with community centers or other public spaces that.
Yeah, we have asked to work in community centers, and from what we've been told, past and present, is that we would need to rent the space. So,
Bull. Just kidding.
yeah, I know, I know. Yes, yes. The way we do it right now, a lot of our tutors and students, they meet out in the public. So they meet at the public library. We have students and tutors that meet at restaurants, wherever they can find a space around town, they meet there. Our facility, we have a suite that is about 700 feet, and we have two study rooms. We're located in the Sims building. So we have two study rooms on the 7th floor. But the thing is, we serve the entire Bernalillo County. So from north to Placitas to Isleta to Tramway, all the way to the west side, we serve everyone. It's over, 26 zip code areas. So we're always trying to find spaces where, if we have students in the South Valley, how can we get a tutor that either lives there, or is there an equidistant space for them? Or, a lot of our tutors come from the Northeast. Where can they meet with their students that are coming from the Southeast or from the Northwest? So that's really what the challenge is when it comes to space.
I think that's so huge. I think that, there's a lot of shame and stigma that comes with, seeking as an adult. And so the more accessible we can make it, I'll share my second story that last year, my partner's cousin came to me because he had lost his, was no longer going to be doing the hard manual labor, that he wanted to get a job where he could be driving, and there's all these jobs at the city now, or even doing, he was willing to do maintenance. There's a lot of jobs. He wasn't looking for a high level job, entry level job, but and now everything's on a website. He couldn't even get past the first initial, he couldn't complete any application because it asks for those things. And if it's not accessible, if they have to go all the way across town, it's not gonna be successful for them as well. So I think many of us on this very board have talked about the expansion of community service, but I think we also from the county on this board can even talk about at least about the 8 community centers that we have in the mostly unincorporated areas of the county, which might increase access. And
Thank you. That would be wonderful. That would be extremely helpful.
I think that would be excellent. And it's part of what, just to say, part of what some of the behavioral health work has been exploring, and I know our Parks and Recs have been talking about, is we've all been, Counselor Pena's mentioned it many times, about expanding our hours into evenings and weekends to be used for programs just as this. So I think this would be a great way to start.
Yeah, our program operates Monday through Sunday. We have our founder actually meets with her student in my office Tuesdays and Fridays, and they meet here at 7 a.m. because that's when he can come in before work to get his tutoring session done, and then he leaves here and goes and works.
Aww. Thank you for bringing the realness of it all. Thank you, Commissioner Quesada, for bringing this important topic. Yes, Councilor Feeble-Corn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, thank you for being here tonight in this presentation. I honestly didn't understand that there were adult education programs that weren't able to offer this base level. And so people were potentially being turned away. I did not know that. So I'm really glad you exist, and I'm really glad that you have volunteers that are willing to serve the community in this way. I'm just going to echo what Chair Barboa said. The city has a lot of buildings, and I feel like we can think through this and come up with a solution. I did have a couple of questions, if you don't mind. Just wondering how people come to you. I heard that you said that a couple were referrals from CNM, but how else are people finding you?
A lot of it is word of mouth. It's word of mouth. Students who already come to us will seek us out. There are some organizations, social organizations that we work with that they will refer their students to us. There are family members who say, I have a family member or a friend or a neighbor that I know they can't read. I'm calling on their behalf. How do I get them set up for sessions? That's pretty much, wouldn't you say, Cindy? That's mainly how it's really grassroots and word of mouth.
Thank you, Chair Barboa. And one more question. How long is your wait list? We heard a couple of people that are on it, but how long is it?
The wait list, the last time we checked, the wait list was at 31. But part of the problem that we have is we have our active students, we have our inactive and waiting. Now, these inactive and waiting students can be people who were already receiving service, but for whatever reason, they had a change in their work schedule or their tutor left the program. So we put them on our inactive and waiting list. They're waiting for a new tutor. Then we're getting more people that are coming in that need services also. So we're really trying to, we often talk about high low priority, right? Who can we get back into service as soon as they need, or who's coming in off the street that really needs service, and we can get them matched right away. So it's with the combination of inactive and active, it's about what? It's about 31. It's, yeah, 31.
Wow. I think anyone that's in this position that wants help should be able to get help immediately. And so I'm dedicated to figuring out what we need to do to make sure that wait list is zero. So again, thank you for being here. I really appreciate this information. And thank you, Commissioner Casada, for bringing this to all of our attention.
Go ahead and say, you were going to say something. No, she was.
Oh, I was just going to say volunteers. So the way that we work is a lot of the work we do is one-on-one tutoring and small group instruction. So our students will, for small groups, there's usually 3 to 5 people, and depending on their need and where they live, if we get new people who come in, we just create another group for them. But for individuals that either want privacy or they're at very low levels, we do one-on-one. So, if you're serving upwards of 150 to 190 people, some years we've served with, 3 staff and 45 to 80 tutors, you obviously need to have more tutors than students so that no one is waiting, so that as soon as they come in, we can get them assessed, find out what their need is, find the best possible match, and get them matched pretty quickly.
Wow. Thank you for taking on. This is huge. I'll end with my last story because I'm a storyteller that many years ago, probably 15 years ago, the Health Equity Council went door knocking block by block in the International District. And one of the questions they asked people on the doors was if there was a literacy program available, would you attend it? I think they got like 70% of the folks saying that they would love to have a literacy program.
Yes, Enrique Cardiel was working with us, the International District's Healthy Communications or Healthy Community Coalition. Yeah.
Yes. So there's a need.
Madam Chair, just one more quick question, because I know that people are going to be blowing up my phone. They might already be. I haven't looked at my phone yet. If folks want to volunteer, how do they sign up?
Yes.
They just go right to our website, which is ethosliteracy.org. We have our application is online, like a Survey Monkey. You fill it out. It goes right to Cindy. Cindy reviews the application. We wait for some references. And then as soon as we have both, we invite the individual to come in. We do an interview. And then as soon as they do their interview, we have a set of instruction or training that they go through. And then when we match people that we think will get along. So there are a lot of programs that they just match people as soon as there's a new tutor available. We match because we think you like this person, you're going to stay in the program longer because you want to work with them. So sometimes thus we need more tutors.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you. Any other questions, comments? Well, thank you so much. And sounds like we're going to have a follow-up conversation. Thank you. All right, moving on to number 6, old business. We have a handle with care update by Counselor Grout. Hello, Counselor
Hi,
Grout.
Chair.
Hello.
Hey there, Madam Chair. Thank you. We wanted to hear about the Handle with Care, how it's been working out in APS this year. So I believe there is somebody that can help us with that.
Yes, there is.
Yes, she's the person. I was looking down at the screen. Welcome.
Thank you. Is this on? Okay. So, good evening. Thank you for having us here, and I'm always grateful to Councilor Grout for bringing back Handle with Care. It was an initiative we had that we returned to APS, so I'm just here tonight to give you an update on how well it's going. If you recall, Handle with Care is a partnership between APS and first responders around the city. When first responders notice that there is a student at the scene of an event and they feel like the student's been highly impacted by the event or has witnessed something pretty traumatic, they issue a Handle with Care notification. The notification is just the student's name. If they have their birth date, that's great. They don't list any details about the event, but what they do is send that to APS Police Department dispatch. Our APS Police Department then locates where that student goes to school. They contact the school and let them know that we have a Handle with Care notification. Sometimes it's one student, sometimes it's many students in a family, but we are able to respond to all of that. The notification goes to the counselor, the nurse, and the principal in the morning, and one of them takes the lead on that at the school. Make sure that every adult that interacts with that student or those students that day know there's a Handle with Care notification. It isn't a call to action. People don't call the kids in and ask how you're doing or re-traumatize them in any way. It's just eyes on. We want a soft landing, a safe place to be if students have, if they're exhibiting signs of trauma, if they're sleepy or tired or hungry or whatever the case may be, they've shown up without their homework. We're going to give them a soft landing that day. We're going to make sure we give them a pass. We're going to get them to the nurse's office to sleep or get a snack or talk with the counselor if they're distraught. Some students are very, very resilient and have experienced a lot of trauma in their lives and are able to do pretty well at school that day. We do not bother them. We do not call them in at that point, but we continue to keep eyes on them that day and the days to come if they do ever show signs that they're struggling. We have on APS's end, we revitalized the program this year. We have trained all schools. This year, the school counselors took charge of that, and they trained all the school staff in their individual schools, and we have that rolled out in the entire district. I do think there was a PowerPoint. I'm not sure if anybody can pull that up, but if not, that's okay. Technology, it works great, right? The other thing I can tell you is that when there's additional resources needed for a family, when a student does tell us what has happened and what's going on, especially if there's been a fire or somebody's in the hospital, we can provide some wraparound services with clothes and food, whatever might be needed if a student does reach out and say, hey, something happened. And sometimes they do, they'll tell us everything that happened at their house. And we are able then to secure a lot of wraparound services and provide resources for the family at that point. I'll just move ahead. It's okay. The one slide I did want you to see was that when we restarted the program again in August, so between August 23rd and December 1st of this year, we have received 51 Handle with Care notifications. We were hoping for a lot more than that because we know there's more out there. 41 of those notifications have come from the Albuquerque Community Safety Group, which is new. When we had the program before, we weren't getting referrals from that group. They are the majority of our referrals at this point and notifications. So I think that partnership is working well. We've received 10 notifications from APD, and we have not received any notifications yet from Fire and Rescue or Bernalillo County. These numbers compared to when we've had the program in the past are slightly lower than what we've seen. Some years in a school year, we've seen upward of 600 to 700 notifications. So we are reliant on receiving notifications from the first responders. So our hope is that that message continues to be spread far and wide among the first responders, and that it is a really strong program in our schools and provides us with a tremendous opportunity to wrap our arms around students when they've witnessed or been part of something that was detrimental to them. And I can answer any questions that you might have at this point.
Thank you so much for the presentation and the update, because I remember this from the last time you came. I thought 51 was good, but to hear that we could be doing more. I'm also excited to hear that ACS has really been a part of this. I think it's great work that they continue to do and show up for. Have you been able to meet with, I will be willing to go and talk to Fire and BCSO to hopefully keep them more alert to doing.
We have not directly met with them, but we are open to any conversation there. I have a small staff. I don't even think I introduced myself. I'm sorry. I'm Vicki Price. I'm the Director of Counseling Services for APS. So I'm sorry, I was nervous and I forgot to tell you who I was. I do have a small staff that works for me at the district office, and we are willing to go out and even train first responder agencies and be part of that. We've offered that when the program first came back around, so I'm putting it back out there because we really do want first responders to feel comfortable sending notifications to us and understand what we do with it from our end and how vital it is that we know when students are struggling.
Thank you. Yes, Counselor Grau.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Vicki, thank you for your presentation. I sure appreciate you. First of all, I talked with Chief Armijo this afternoon because we saw that there were no notifications from AFR. And so she's going to be re-talking to her teams, her staff. When we first talked about it, she was very excited about it. And then we needed to wait for APS to get back into school. And so, excuse me, she's going to get all over this now. And so I think those numbers will definitely change because she is a huge advocate for it. So she's going to just go after her team and make sure that they are looking after those kiddos like they should and taking that extra step. I can also report, she said that tomorrow she's meeting with the AG, New Mexico AG, because we reached out to Representative Sariñana and asked if we could take this statewide because we think it's that important that our children are looked after better, and we need to continue to give them those resources if needed. And so she took it to the Education Committee for the legislature, and they got on board. And so they have a bill prepared, and I was very excited to hear that the AG is even looking into this. And so our hope is that we can make this a statewide initiative, and just help those kids even more. So I just do have a couple of questions. One of the questions you answered earlier was about how does this compare to last time? I think it's new, and I bet you as our first responders remember that this tool is available to them, I bet those numbers will go up. And I think it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. We don't want to have huge numbers because we don't want to have all this trauma with our children, but also it's very important that we get that help for them if they need it. But my second question, or another question I would have, is have you had any feedback from any of the teachers or the schools? Have you heard anything, how they like it, or how they've been able to help these kids?
Yeah, we have. As a matter of fact, many of the counselors, the kids have made their way into their office, and because they were having a hard time or whatever, and they don't ask the student about it, but many times the students do want to talk about it. They want to process it. So this has opened the door to students that might not have been on our radar otherwise, who are now solidly on our radar and have another advocate on their campus that they know and they trust. So we have seen it open the door for students walking into the counseling office more often and feeling more comfortable. And in the days to come, if there are more struggles at home or outside of school, they're more apt to come and tell somebody and ask for some help.
That's great. Thank you. Madam Chair, one more question. Has the training video been updated? Does anybody know?
I can answer that, I think. Yes. As far as I know, it has not been updated at this point. We have not received a new video. We're actually using our old video. I think the plan was to use the first part of the original video, but add, there's different leadership in charge at the end of the video, and they wanted to update that portion.
Okay.
The first part of the video is intact, and it explains the program, and that hasn't changed. It's still a good, solid video to use. And my nephew was right in there, and he was great.
Thank you. I can tell you, a couple of months ago, my youngest granddaughter, they live in Texas, and she was rushed to the hospital because she wasn't breathing well, and my three older siblings were very worried about her, and they're older children, but they ended up rushing my youngest granddaughter. She had to be airlifted from a small town in Texas to Fort Worth to the Children's Hospital, and my granddaughter's fine now. But her three siblings, they were so worried and so sad, and it was a long ordeal for them. And that next morning or that next day, I asked one of my granddaughters, how are you doing? And she said, I am so tired. I could barely keep my eyes open at school. And, they didn't have, their situation was a little bit different trauma wise, but I was thinking, oh my gosh, I hope that those teachers and counselors and the principal know that something happened at home. And so give her a little bit of grace, and just wrap their arms around her to keep her comfortable. And so I'm really grateful for this program, and I appreciate everybody that has come on board and advocated for this. Thank you for that update.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for the update about taking it statewide. I know APS would be on board for providing any kind of in-kind support that we can to get this statewide. It's really a relatively easy program to do with a big impact. It's pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. So we'd be happy to help in any way that we can. Thank you very much.
We'll take you up on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. I'll make sure to try and connect you with yes.
I had one question for Ms. Price. Who created the video? Is that an in-house APS video?
It was
a partnership?
It was Paul Evans was contracted through the county, I think, and he was the maker of that video. So it was, but then we had all the first responders and APS. We provided students and locations, and it was quite an ordeal. It took 4 different locations to film it. It was very well done.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sorry, I didn't catch you. Great, thank you, Councilor Grout, for bringing that. And we have Pam Acosta with our continuing behavioral health, our regular updates from Behavioral Health Initiative.
Well, good evening, Madam Chair and Madam Vice Chair and Commissioners. I'll try and keep these updates concise for you. I have about 7 of them. My name is Pam Acosta. I'm the Senior Manager of the Behavioral Health Initiative. In this past November, since we've last met, City Council voted to approve $1.5 million in opioid settlement funding for the medicated assisted treatment at the Metropolitan Detention Center. The IGA is currently being reviewed by both the city and the county, giving our feedback on that. And I just wanted to say that the county is very thankful for the award and for the city's commitment to addressing the opioid crisis in our community, as well as the partnership between the city and the county. Our next update, the Board of Commissioners approved additional funding last month to continue the operations of the Family Wellness Motel, which provides shelter to families. We've also worked to expand further to open 22 additional rooms as emergency shelter for the next 90 days. And then in FY25, the Behavioral Health Initiative will leverage gross receipts tax to establish the Family Wellness Center or Family Wellness Motel as a recurring program. And then last month, the county received a federal grant award from the Department of Health and Human Services, the Health Resources and Services Administration, in the amount of $422,031. This grant award was a result of a congressional directed spending request submitted by Bernalillo County in April of 2022, which was supported and secured by Congresswoman Stansbury for the purchase and construction of a third school-based mobile health clinic. And I know you guys were discussing that earlier. I'm sorry I missed that conversation. We have 2 units that should be ready in July. Production and manufacturing delays have pushed our original start date from October to July, but we're continuing to press the manufacturer to make that piece in order to have it delivered. We are working with County Fleet right now on ordering a new vehicle, the 3rd vehicle, and we anticipate that that one also will take 18 to 24 months for build out. We're still in the procurement process of selecting vendors for the operations, utilizing federally qualified health centers. And we are continuing to work with Director Price and Dr. Christy Muir and their team on data showing which schools demonstrate need for mobile units and who can also support the unit on their property. All right. And then we've talked about this before. We launched a $2 million small provider grant for providers who have a operating budget or a revenue of $500,000 or less. We will be re-releasing the RFP again in 2024 to solicit a wider pool. We had some folks that responded. Either they didn't qualify. We're still in the procurement process with some of those, but we understand that we may have, the ask was lower than what we thought, and so we want to open that pool up. All right, finally, we have, well, not finally, I have a couple more. Tiny Homes Village opened applications for 1 week at the end of November and received approximately 305 applications in 1 week. The staff are currently screening the applications and will begin interviewing and moving in new villagers after the new year. And we're hoping that move-ins will happen in January, and we'll use a lottery system for that. We are currently sitting at 23 homes out of 30 occupied, and we anticipate once we start those interviews that those will happen fast. The highest that we've gotten to in our census is 27, and the reason for that is because we have individuals who are moving in and quickly being housed in permanent housing. We looked at our census, I guess, from January to November, and we've had a total of 56 individuals who have lived in the village. Some of them are still there, so those are duplicate numbers. But we've had 34 that have moved out. 19 of those were successfully discharged into permanent housing. And we are currently actually searching for a program manager for that program. And we're hoping to have those interviews done either at the end of the year or early first week of January. Let's see, our Resource Reentry Center, which is a center for those that are exiting out of the Metropolitan Detention Center, continues to work closely with the DA's office and the Law Office of the Public Defender in diversion and connection to services efforts. The RRC continues to host the out of custody competency hearings. There's a backlog, and so for those that are out of custody, we're hosting those there at the Resource Reentry Center. They meet with a clinician via televideo, and then afterwards they're offered case management when they're done with that. And then RRC staff recently provided on-site support for the Safe Surrender event this month, which is a Safe Surrender warrant program. They were tasked with meeting with individuals to assess their needs and connect them to resources. And this will be ongoing support because it's my understanding that the DA's office and Public Defender's office want to continue this process. And then another update, which is the city and the county, the Forensics Assertive Community Treatment Team. The city and the county are partnering together to fund this effort. They are still working with their procurement on the city side to post the RFP. They had to make some changes to allow for for-profits to apply for the services or to apply for the RFP. And then finally, the implementation plan back in January, our commissioners voted to have some 8 members come up with recommendations to evaluate the behavioral health system here in Bernalillo County. We made some recommendations. There was a total of 6 of those. And we have an implementation plan, and we've been giving updates to our commission. So I can go over those recommendations if you're not familiar with them, but if you are, I can just give you some brief updates.
I think for today, I'm hoping that Bryce and Kate can come in the new year and give a full good update. But if you want to give some highlights,
yeah, I'll give brief highlights on just where we are right now. We are continuing. One of the recommendations was to change some of the structure of the BHI, and so we are hiring right now, actively hiring nationwide for a deputy county manager. The behavioral health, the care campus, and our criminal justice initiatives office will all go under one umbrella and be called a division. And then we're in partnership with the city, working together to explore a closed loop referral and data sharing system. And we've demoed a whole bunch of other systems. We're hoping this will work. We think this is going to be a really good solution on getting people connected to services. And then 2 more. We are planning on, currently our governance structure has 4 subcommittees, and one of the recommendations was to combine them into one advisory committee, and we would title that a community advisory committee so that we maintain the voice of the community. And then also a lived experience committee where we would have the voices of those with lived experience who can contribute to some of the ideas, give us feedback on what we're doing with behavioral health initiative. And then lastly, we presented to some legislators a couple times last week, and one of the priorities that we're pushing for is Medicaid support. As we are funding some of our providers throughout the community, we want them to be self-sustaining, but we need to make Medicaid an easier accessible service for them, an easier way to bill. And so we're pushing for a third-party billing center that would also at the same time train folks while they're billing for them. And that's all for me, and I will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Manager Pam Acosta. Are there any questions? Yes, please.
Just a quick one.
No
worries. I know. How many families are currently residing in the Family Wellness Motel?
Family Wellness, I believe, has 42 units. Am I correct? I believe it's 42 units, and then in addition would be that emergency 22 units.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that reminder of the 22 I wasn't aware of, so it makes me feel really good that we're doing that for these cold months.
Yes, especially last night. We were on a call today with the city talking about how the shelter expanded themselves up to 650 more beds, and they're reaching their capacity. So that tells you that these cold months and people are really wanting the shelter.
Yes. And wow, to 300 people applying for Tiny Home Village when we have maybe 7.
7. But if I may add, Madam Chair, with that, we have case managers that are fielding those calls, connecting with those individuals. So those applications just aren't sitting there, that we are providing them with other resources, letting them know we did receive your application, but here are some resources in the meantime. Here are some shelter information in the meantime. Please use us as a resource. If you want to call us to ask about other services, please use us as a resource. So still offering that. And they've done some outreach as well during that period to the encampments that are around the area. Got them to sign some applications as well.
Wow, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Let's see, I wrote my things really crazy here. No, the 22 emergency is what was important to me. Yeah, thank you for that great update.
Thank you.
Any other questions, folks online? Okay, thank you,
Thank
Director.
you. Have a good evening.
Yes. Okay, I don't believe, but let's ask if there's any subcommittee members here to address the council. Great. I wanted to also share just under these updates. I know holidays time is a hard time for a lot of folks, especially those either in recovery or struggling to find recovery or just struggling, period. Mental and behavioral health, substance use, all the things. So I do also hope in the second meeting of January to have a full update on our Keep NM Alive work and website. It's sort of based on the website, but there's been so much. There's probably about 30 now impacted families that have been trained as Narcan dispensers, and there's a whole list of a lot of really big things we've been doing with the Keep NM Alive. But I wanted to ask, thank you, Julie and Angela, for bringing up the website. It's keepnmalive.com, right? You can type it in, phone. We've tried to make sure it's accessed by your mobile. On this website, yeah, if you could go down a little bit. If you might be familiar with these videos. So these are some of the families I'm talking about. There are videos on there. We really, Lisa Cynthia White, who is one of our deputy county managers here at the county, she has really been working close with these families. And we took their advice, right? We said, yes, we know all the clinical social workers and the professionals know things, but we want to hear from families what they think they needed or still need when they're trying to figure out what to do for their family members. And so they really said out loud that I would love to see a video of somebody else struggling and doing the same thing. We have grandparents raising grandchildren because their child is struggling, and so they're raising their grandchild. Or this is the person you see right now is Kelly Opt, who I've grown to really care about. That's her son Austin, who is a Marine and a rugby player and an artist and all these things that you may have seen these videos. We've been able to do both broadcast them on TV news, but more importantly, just to know that this is here. If someone's struggling, it's a resource website we hope can be even really interactive. We're trying to build it towards that. But right now, you click on any of these tabs, you'll get a list of resources, places to call, resources, and people available. 988 is also the 24-hour go-to for anything, but sometimes people can just want to get in and see some of the resources or see videos of other people going through similar issues. So I just wanted to name it as we move into the holiday season, which always seems to be a rougher time for folks some suffering with mental or behavioral health issues. So just so you know, in case it comes across your need, Keeping Them Alive and 988 are definitely the places to send folks. Thank you, Angela. Any questions, comments, announcements? Well, great. If there's no other business, the announcement, the next Albuquerque Bernalillo County Commission plus APS meeting will be to be determined in January. And usually we change over, switch between Bernalillo County and city. So next year would be the city taking chairmanship of this commission. So I look forward to someone from one of my city colleagues volunteering to do that. And thank you. And if there's no other business, this meeting is adjourned.